fathom me this. I guess we'll start the show. Welcome back to Sportsmen. As always, Joey D, Mikey V, myself. We will get to college football first, but we were just talking about this before this thing started. If A.J. Brown is hurt, why does Devonta Smith not have 12 targets?
Yeah,
Why
does
does
every ball that was thrown to him?
target? Why does Covey have
good.
7 targets after the first fucking quarter? That's not a real stat, but it felt like it. I mean, they
kept throwing the same screen
what the
pass.
fuck are we doing, man?
Yeah,
This
it's
team,
frustrating.
Sirianni, the culture coach, who gives the worst speeches before and after games, regardless of win or loss, he says nothing while saying so much. The team is in such disarray. There are so many deeper problems than any one specific thing. It's so much deeper than, if you want to blame Jalen Hurts, it's deeper than that. If you want to blame Kellen Moore, it's deeper than that. If you want to blame Nick Sirianni, they have such internal strife with the chemistry. They are an absolute mess, and people should stop picking them to go to the playoffs. They're an ass program right now. They could
have lost to the Packers. They could be 0-2 right now.
Listen, the NFL season always starts weird. I mean, you got some teams that were very, very touted coming into the year. The
Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, 0-2, you know, the Jaguars, 0-2, the Colts, who a lot of people see. I was never on the Colts bandwagon, but I know a lot of people thought the Colts were they're 0-2. And you know, it's not just the Eagles that are messing it up offensively. Around the league, man, you know, passing yards per game is 40 yards off the pace of a couple of years ago. It's just this whole emphasis that they tried to put on offense, try to make the rules go around the offense. The offenses aren't moving the ball the way they had in previous seasons. So it's been a very, very, very sluggish start. I feel like every year with the NFL, the start gets more and more sluggish because of the way the preseason's handled and the way things go. So, I mean, let's give it a couple more weeks and see what happens. But
it's been
tough.
Tick.
But listen, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I sat through a very, very tough game myself Sunday night watching. It's frustrating.
Oh my God, the Bears defense looked tremendous, and they couldn't get a first down to save their lives.
Caleb starts the game 5 for 5, and then the O-line just.
Let me tell you one thing before we move on to the Bears, because I loved DeAndre Swift last year. I thought he was a phenomenal running back.
Me too.
Is he Saquon Barkley? No, he's not. But he was very capable, and we didn't run him nearly enough, especially in first halves. Late into the second quarter, Saquon Barkley had 5 fucking carries. Oh. I mean, what are we doing getting him on the roster and not running him down people's throats?
He looked tremendous.
I don't know if it's like a pitch count thing or these guys, like with his injury history, they're trying to, because I mean, the second drive for Philadelphia, I watched Saquon Barkley literally every time he carried the ball, he got a first down. He carried the ball 4 times for 40 yards. And it wasn't like he popped a 30-yard and then he got stuffed. It was
like
one
7,
run, 10 yards,
time.
one run, 11 yards, one run, 9 yards, one run, 10 yards. It was a first down, a clip, and they just stopped. I don't know. I don't know. It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating, but you know, these guys get paid a lot of money to call these plays, and there's an assistant coach for the assistant coach, and there's an assistant coach to the coordinator, and these guys are running analytics. And Jet texted me last night about analytics after the Eagles passed on that field goal Tick on the second drive that they had. And he's making a joke about the analytics. I just, the decision making and even, you know, with the Bears on Sunday night, Eberflus challenging those 2 plays.
Oh my
God. Telling him to review 2 plays that I'm looking at the TV and I'm like,
first one.
They're getting
the
paid.
First one, Ray Charles could have called it.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, who is the person in the booth pulling the trigger to make that decision? Who are the decision? There's just really poor decision makers in the league. There's just on these teams, there's just poor decision makers, and that's why the
execution, the coaching, the play calling, it baffles me. The first couple of weeks of the NFL have looked incredibly sloppy.
They suck.
You look even at a team like the Chiefs. The Chiefs could be 0-2. They should have lost last week. They should have lost. And it's just like you're watching these games and you're like, yo, it's sloppy. There's flags on every second play. The Texans game and then the Eagles game, there was a penalty every second. I was like, yo, at what point are the refs going to let these guys play? and they're making calls that are overturning big plays for the most ticky-tack calls. A guy spikes the ball after a huge run, and they call him for excessive celebration on Sportsmen. It's like, what are we doing? When did we get so soft?
I know.
They, it's there's just I think we have to have a little patience, because like you're seeing a guy like Mahomes, who's the best in the league, and like he did not play. He didn't have for Pat Mahomes. That wasn't a good game.
Bad
for
game
Pat Mahomes
for
on. So it's like there's nobody setting the world on fire right now. And again, it just feels like every year.
Yeah, there is.
It feels like there's like a couple guys.
Derek Carr, and I gotta eat some humble pie.
But I'm saying like the guys, like the reliable guys, like, well, Josh Allen certainly looked good against Miami, but Mahomes and Lamar and some of these guys, like
Trevor Lawrence looks like shit.
Terrible. I just feel like every year now it's like you have to wait a month. Football doesn't get good till October. I feel like September NFL football is you get like one good game a week, maybe two. And I'm talking about really good games, maybe one or two a week. It just doesn't get good until late.
Mikey, this is why I'm starting to think that college football might be better, because you can't lose 2-3 games. Like Florida State's done. Their season is done. Yep. You can't, in the NFL, you can lose 2, 3, 4 games early on, and you can get a wild card, and you can go all the way. Yep. Like in college football, you just have to be so good week in, week out. You have to be on your shit. And NFL, it's like it's almost like a hangover to start the year off. It's like
That's exactly right. I'm telling you, man, it takes a month for these guys to get into the full flow of the game. It feels that way anyway, because they don't play in the
Don't you think that if they actually started playing these guys in preseason, you could actually start the season ready to go instead of benching everyone?
I think just everyone is so you've seen what's happened over the first 2 weeks. I mean, you got Justin Jefferson's hurt, Tua Tagovailoa is hurt. It's these injuries just scare the shit.
Is hurt.
I mean, Christian McCaffrey is on IR. It's like it's a war of attrition. It's like in these coaches and the GMs and the owners, I'm sure too, the owners. I mean, these are the guys that bring the people and put the asses in the seat. I mean, these are superstar players. It's not like it's, Joe Blow out there. And I think they're just so deathly afraid of the injuries. They just they'd rather see what you're seeing the first couple of weeks than risk, some bullshit non-contact injury in the preseason to a guy like McCaffrey. But McCaffrey's injury from preseason now is lingering into the season. So there is no magic formula. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, they're talking about adding another regular season game. They want to make 18 games now.
They're just trying to print money is what they're trying to do.
Man, that's it. They want to be in Australia. They want to be in Asia. They want to be. I mean, the NFL is a money-making business.
The Brazil game was a debacle. The Brazil game was an absolute disaster.
Terrible. People didn't even know what they were cheering for. They're in the stands. They're not even cheering at the right moments. It's like,
I thought they were going to bring out the vuvuzelas, Mikey.
Dude. Yeah, bro. It's a money printing machine, and that's all they care about.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to have derailed us right in the beginning of the show here. We don't normally start with NFL. We normally start with college.
It was a rant.
Let's get back into college. Let's start with college here. Actually, real quick, Mikey, are you going to Nashville, by the way?
No, I'm not.
Oh,
yeah, no, I'm not
on the schedule. I thought you were going.
No, man, I got Dom. Oh man, I mean, school right now for this kid since he got into kindergarten, bro. We have a back to school night Thursday, his first school dance Friday, and soccer Saturday.
School dance in kindergarten.
Well,
no. Dog?
It's for the whole elementary school. They encourage the kindergartners to go in the first hour and then like get the hell out of there. And then I got his first soccer game is Saturday, and I'm not.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right. Well, I mean, that is awesome. We're gonna miss you in Nashville, though.
I'll see you in Vegas. See you in Vegas.
Oh,
sure.
I think Pop's coming.
He is. I heard him in the jet. Got in there.
I mean, why not?
They wiggled right in.
Well, we're not getting paid, but we're coming.
Yeah, but Vegas,
it's a trip,
Vegas, baby. Vegas,
it's a free trip.
It's a free trip. It is a
free trip. Eagles in the sphere.
The Pop might get on a heater. He might get paid regardless.
Correct.
Correct. Joey D, we got to get a little
craps
going, my man.
A little crappy action.
All right, let's get into college football here. guys, we're starting to separate the cream from the crop here. Georgia looked pretty good. I mean, they fought a battle against Kentucky, but they came out on top. Texas rolled. Alabama rolled. Ole Miss, they might be the real deal. Mikey, Joe, talk to me about who are the teams you like coming out of this week 3.
Yeah, I thought it was a bad week for Georgia. I know they fought and they ended up winning, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. But on paper, that's not good, especially when Kentucky got the doors blown off. I'm gonna tell you the teams that are standing out to me. Tennessee is blowing everybody out. Their quarterback is the real deal. They are a fun team to watch. If you haven't watched the Tennessee game, make it your business too. I watched the full game 2 weeks ago. I couldn't catch the full game last week, but I watched them 2 weeks ago. They're very fun. Ole Miss, Jackson Dart. That was one of my futures. My college football national championship, one of my picks this year was Ole Miss, plus 1,600. Jackson Dart, that team, they're good. They're very good. They recruit well. They spend NIL money. They look good. Alabama, still very good with Jalen Milroe.
Alabama looks really good.
They're going to be a difficult team. They're not going to be like the Alabama that's like just going to go in against like a top ranked team and blow their doors off. I don't think, but they're still going to be very good. I think Ohio State, once Ohio State gets rolling, I think their defense and their offensive weapons, they're really good. Texas, really good.
Nebraska looks good too.
Yeah, but to me, right, the 4 teams that are standing out to me right now, Georgia aside, I'll give them the hiccup against Kentucky. Again,
they won. I mean, they won
me a little bit, but yeah, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Ohio State, and Alabama to me are teams that look.
Miami
really
looks pretty formidable.
Miami looks great. I forgot about Miami. Miami looks great. Cam Ward. I think he's the Heisman favorite right now, Cam Ward.
Yeah, Bob placed the wager on him to win.
He should. He was one of my futures for the Heisman as well. He's going to have a big year there. He's having a big year, and the ACC to me is in such a down year. Florida State is a non-entity. Clemson, they blow out a team after they get spanked by Georgia. I'm not sure what Clemson is yet. I got to see them play somebody tough, but ACC is right there for Miami's taking. They should win that conference. Going away, I think they're the best complete team in the conference by a wide margin. So that's a playoff team.
Joey D, who do you like?
I would reiterate what Mikey said. I think there's just a lot of teams that, are in the top 10 or were in the top 10, top 15, and they're fraudulent. I do think Alabama to me looks really good. Texas I thought was really good, but I don't know how hurt Quinn Ewers is now. I don't know. Archie Manning came in, or is it Archibald?
Arch Manning. Yeah.
I mean,
he's not. Listen, Arch is not as polished as Quinn is right now. But Arch Manning was one of the highest ranked recruits to ever come out of high school, ever at quarterback position. So, I mean, that's not bad to have waiting in the wings if Ewers is going to be out any extended kind of period of time. But Texas is good enough. I think Texas will be fine.
Yeah, Texas is still good.
Though is tough, obviously.
I think Missouri is a team that could still play and it's still good. They struggled this week against Boston College.
Tricky team.
They're not easy. And then, I mean, they already beat Florida State too, but I mean, I guess everybody's beating Florida State. So I don't know how much that means.
That's true.
And then I think, Oregon, I think they're still, they had that one bad week where they barely won against
2 weeks. Idaho and Boise State.
Boise State was the one that I was referring to where they barely won. But they rolled this week. They took care of business.
Had a nice bounce back.
And they look really good. So again, I think like to Mikey's point, I think you're going to have to still wait and see a few more weeks to get a bigger sample set. But to me, there's definitely 4 teams that stand out. And the teams that Mikey mentioned, I would say to me out of those teams, Alabama looks really good. Tennessee looks really good. Ohio State really hasn't played anyone yet to like noteworthy. So, it'll be interesting to see how they look, because the same thing, you saw Texas play Michigan and you thought maybe Michigan would be good and they just dominated early and often. So when is the first big game that Ohio State has, Mikey?
Oregon, Oregon, October 12th. That's the first real big game.
So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, they play Marshall this week, and then they play Michigan State at night in Michigan, in East Lansing. But the real test, the first game is that road game at Oregon. I mean, and that's that 10-12 slate that has like there's like 5 insane games that day. It's like, I forget. I keep pulling that slate up because I keep forgetting. I think it's the Red River rivalry. So you got Oklahoma, Texas.
Yeah.
USC is playing maybe Michigan. I forget. There's another huge game.
I think USC played Michigan this week.
That may be. That may be.
They play Michigan this week.
Slate is nuts. It's crazy. It's like they're
Michigan,
calling it
by
like
the way,
one of the
looks
best slates.
awful.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good.
Now they're making a change at quarterback. I don't know if that's gonna do much.
Orji could be decent. I mean, Orji could be decent. He's just got to be able to throw the ball. I don't know if he's gonna be able to throw the ball, but yeah, you got Missouri, Texas A&M. You got Ole Miss, LSU, Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State, USC. So that and Oklahoma, Texas. There's like 5 insane. That day's a big day for college football.
That Oklahoma Texas game last week was crazy. That was last year.
That'll separate a lot of the pretenders from the contenders that week. There's going to be a lot of separation there.
Going back quickly to Boston College, they are a little bit of a slippery team, man. And
very much.
Bill O'Brien is on a whirl right now to play for or to coach every single fucking team out there. He can't stay committed to a program.
He's doing a great job there.
He is doing a great job. Let's go back to I have a question for you guys. Kansas State, are they fraudulent or are they the real deal? Because they're playing some pretty good football right now.
Kansas State.
Yeah,
I mean,
they blew the doors off Arizona this last week. Yeah,
I'm a big, they're one of the last teams left in the Big 12 that's like a good team. I still think that if Cam Rising can come back for Utah's still
he's hurt every fucking year, man.
He is, but there's another team out there.
Every year he's hurt.
There's a team out there in the Big 12 that's the most experienced team in the country in terms of how many guys they returned and stuff, and that's Mike Gundy's Oklahoma State Cowboys, man.
Yeah,
they're a team that, because the conference, in my opinion, is so weak, and they're so experienced, and they haven't lost yet. They had a close call against Arkansas in the second.
That was last week.
But that is a team to keep an eye on. The Oklahoma State Cowboys. I like them. K-State, Tick, I'm going to be honest. I didn't really follow them as much lately. I'll keep a little bit closer of an eye on them. But again, in that conference, anything is possible because the conference is not.
No, it was a feisty team. Is UNLV. They look like they're a little feisty. They just beat Kansas was ranked, and they've just 2 weeks in a row just bottomed out.
I think they miss that coach who's now the offensive coordinator for Penn State. I think they miss him because that offense would hum under him, and Penn State needed that desperately, and it's paid dividends for them somewhat. I don't believe
they were
Penn
still
State's
good last year.
So.
They beat Oklahoma. Was it Oklahoma they beat last year towards the end of the season? They gave Texas a chance, opportunity to get back in the top 4. And I don't know, man. It's just, again, I think there's still a lot more to see, a lot more football to be played. But I think there's just a lot of teams. You see something very different one week to the next. There's not a lot of teams that are playing consistent, steady football, and it's a sign of, probably some inexperience, some growing pains, a lot of new personnel, like Mikey mentioned, a lot of these teams are losing recruits and losing players. So it'll be interesting to see the next few weeks how things unfold, but I don't know. It could be anybody's. It could really be anybody's year this year. Especially with the extended playoff this year with 12 teams, you could get a team hot that comes in and upsets one of these teams. Look at Kentucky. They look like for a majority of this last week that they were going to beat Georgia. And I thought going into this week, Georgia was the hottest team in college football. So what do you know?
Yeah, the playoffs definitely going to make things a lot more interesting this year. It'll be fun to watch. Let's jump over to NFL now. Let's officially go over there. And we're not talking Eagles Atlanta at all. We're done with. We already did it.
I don't blame you.
He was at the game. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, I don't blame him. I don't really want to talk about the Bears Texans either, to be honest.
First of all, thank you to Kenny Pickett. The tickets were fantastic. I don't know.
They look like great seats.
But they were great seats. Great seats. I had a wonderful time. I had some chickies and Pete's. I had some crab fries. I enjoyed myself very much. just a tough game to watch. Really, really tough. I mean, it was a battlefield outside of the stadium once that game.
I tried logging in to watch like Eagles radio, like to hear it afterwards.
Yo, you're sick. That's so sick. Why? Because you want to hear how fucking miserable they are?
No, it's one of my favorite things. It doesn't matter whose team it is. When the Canucks used to lose big games, I do it too.
Just want to hear the losing.
I just love to hear
radio.
like people call in and just bash the team and just go off, and hear these guys in week 2 act like the season is over. It's the funniest shit ever.
What do you think it's like in New York right now, listening to these callers with Daniel Jones and the Giants every day, and the Mets with Lindor's injury, and I mean, it's bad. It's bad. It's very bad
sledding over there. But yeah, suffice to say, there was a couple guys out on the street, some Atlanta fans chirping where they shouldn't have been.
Oh no,
they were. I don't know if they made it home that night, because you don't do that there in Philly. I mean, it's going to end poorly for you.
I wouldn't. If I went to a Philly game, like if the Bears were playing, I wouldn't even wear Bear shit. I would just dress in neutral colors and just go.
Yeah,
I'm not looking.
See, that's where you got to draw the line.
Man. These guys don't give up. They'll beat the shit out of a kid. They don't care.
That's ridiculous.
It's true though.
If you're not an obnoxious fan, if you just go there to support your team, there's nothing wrong with that.
But it don't matter though. Tick, tell them it does not matter.
In Philly, it doesn't matter, dude.
It doesn't matter.
I can promise you this much: if I ever watch a Packers game in Philadelphia, I will wear a Packers jersey.
I tell you, you will get. I promise you, you're gonna get fucking.
I tell you where it doesn't happen.
I'll get heckled. I'm not gonna get. Nobody's gonna punch me just because I'm wearing the jersey.
It could happen, Joe.
It could happen, man. They're sick.
They get hammered too, Joe. You think they're thinking straight when they get hammered, dude? And when they lose, if we lost to you too,
see, that's obnoxious. You would never get that in Lambeau Field.
Well, that's our reputation.
Lambeau Field is such different. You're talking about such a different type of people, though.
Yeah, but they're good people. They treat people with respect.
I'm not saying they're not good people, and I'm not saying Philly people are bad people. It's just Philly fans are notorious for. If you go to their building, you just really ought to be on high alert if you're going to wear the other team shit.
It happens big time at Phillies games and at Eagles games. Less so at Sixers games. You will see it. And it's
Flyers games, I heard, are pretty wild, Tick.
Flyers games can get a little rough. Yeah. Flyers games can definitely get a little dicey. But then, especially it's going to be worse for you if you're wearing a cow. Like Joe, you're probably going to be okay if you're a Pack. But if you're going to a Giants Eagles game, you're wearing Giants, or you're wearing Cowboys.
Have you seen it take place?
Dude, I saw a guy, an Atlanta fan last night, really getting roughed up because he wouldn't shut the fuck up, though, by the way.
Well, that's
okay. Don't do that. But I've seen Cowboys fans do nothing. And
they're like kicking him in the ribs and shit?
Well, maybe not kicking them in the ribs, but, I mean, it's getting physical. There's some pushing, and, if they clap back, fists can fly. But regardless, we're miserable. I don't want to talk about them. Open the show with them. Let's go to Thursday night, okay? Bills beat the brakes off the Dolphins in Miami. They weathered.
I did not see that coming.
Fine, and Josh Allen cooked. And James Cook cooked. Gentlemen, what'd you see there?
I saw a Miami team that cannot get the proverbial monkey off their back. They remind me a lot of Josh Allen and the Bills to the current state of the Miami Dolphins reminds me a lot of Rodgers with the Packers and the Bears. It's just a team that Miami mentally is just not capable of beating right now. They're just not. Whatever it is, they are not capable of beating him in that team. And I switched my pick. My pick all week was in my head. I'm like, this is it. Miami's going to do it this time. They're only a 2-point favorite. I think it's a little disrespectful. I think it's too early in the season.
I thought Miami's
Tua in the beginning of the season, so much different than Tua at the end of the season. I was all on Miami, and then I got off of it. I hopped on the James Cook train, still lost, even though a guy fucking went for like 1,000,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he didn't get 14.5 carries, so it didn't matter. But I saw a Miami team that Tua looked like he had never played the position, and this was before the guy got hurt, and I'm not speaking down to his injury whatsoever. In terms of his injury and that whole thing, I don't know what to say about it other than the fact that Miami knew this is what they were going to live with for the rest of the duration that Tua was with that organization. This guy is one hit away. And now every player is one hit away from serious injury, but Tua is so predisposed
It's
to these
terrible.
concussions that one hit is going to, as a Miami fan, as somebody who's followed his career in the NFL so far and in college when he had the hip injury at Alabama, he is one hit away from his season ending almost every single game. That's what it feels like when he goes out there. He gets hit the wrong way. His head is bouncing off the ground. It's an automatic concussion. He did the same thing with his hands that he did against the Cincinnati Bengals 2 years ago. It's very scary. He doesn't want to retire. He made that public already. They're going to send him to see X amount of neurologists, whatever they're going to do. This guy is real. It's not safe to me for this guy to be playing football.
He just got paid. Why not just fucking ride into the sunset?
I think he's a gamer, dude. Like, I like the guy. I think he wants to play. I mean,
if you're his family, you got to tell him, dude.
I don't disagree.
At that point,
I don't
he
disagree,
just signed a deal that guarantees he's going to walk away a rich man. Why risk it for what? So that you could one more hit like that, you could be a vegetable. It's unbelievable, man.
I don't disagree at all. And
you've got money only guaranteed if you fulfill.
No, he's still got.
So there's also an injury insurance policy that Miami has in there where he would have to forfeit like 40 million of the guaranteed, but he would still get like 120.
Still gonna get $100 million.
Right. And
if I told you don't have to work another day in your life, walk away for $100 million, are you doing it?
And here's the other thing. Now Miami is without, or they were in the Bills
away without any injuries. I'd just leave.
Right.
I would just go.
Right. And I don't blame you, but Miami now they're playing with a backup left guard, a backup left tackle, like Skylar Thompson, like that. That is going to be like a very precarious position. Like, what is he going to come back? Like, he's going to come back and play behind, backup offense. It's just, it's a very, very unfortunate situation for him. But frankly, it's a situation that everyone could kind of see coming because of his injury history. Guy takes one wrong hit, like I said, and he's predisposed to these concussions. And if anybody should be playing with one of those fucking Guardian caps,
oh my!
I mean, they should mandate.
He should have bubble wrap on that helmet.
It should be mandatory that he wears it. Why else do you have it now? Why? He is the poster child for that Guardian cap. He should be anyway. If I was him, I'd be running Guardian cap promos on my social media, 20% off Guardian cap, promo code Tua20. And I would be doing that because this guy is the poster child for the Guardian cap, or he should be. And I'm meaning that in all seriousness. Like, this guy is, like Joe said, it's one hit away from, like, this guy is going to be it could be in a lot of trouble, and nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. This is very scary, man. When he went down and his hands went up again.
Oh my God.
Dude, he already could be in a lot of trouble. I mean, when you get hit that many times, 10 years down the line, you could already, he needs to get out as soon as possible, especially with, like you guys said, that much guaranteed. He's still going to walk away with 100 at least. If he walks away right now, I mean, that's the easiest.
About $1.20, right around there.
All right. Well, moving on here. Let's go to where to go? Chiefs Bengals. I mean, I don't want to say anything. They only lost by 1, but is Joe Burrow? Is it time to start talking fraud alert? Was he anointed too early, or do you still believe in him? But they ended up losing the game 26-25 to the Chiefs at Arrowhead.
The guy who's played behind some pretty poor offensive lines. It's a guy that's been dealing with injury after injury almost every year, can't stay healthy. And he's still able to go out there. And up until now, up until this point, there's only one team in the league that looks reliable against the Kansas City Chiefs every time they play them. Every time the Bengals play the Chiefs, the Bengals give them the best game they get. Why is that? I couldn't tell you. I don't know why they're
built
match
to
up so
beat
well. They always, I feel like they're the one team. It's like they got a shot because they just prove it time and time again. I don't think it's time to panic on Burrow. I think the Bengals should have won that game. I think a lot of people would tell you that they should have won that game. But again, the Chiefs are just, they're a if you don't like the Chiefs, I have nothing personally against them. So I'm not like an anti-Chiefs person. But man, if you're like in their division or you're like in the AFC or teams in the AFC, they are one of the most frustrating teams to watch, man, because everything always seems to go their way no matter what. It always seems. Now, they just lost their starting running back, who I think is the driving force. I think Isaiah Pacheco, besides Patrick Mahomes, is the driving force of that offense. I really do. and he's going to be out quite a long time, at least 6 weeks probably.
I think it's season ending.
No, it's
not.
He'll
be back.
Don't say that. I have fantasy
team. It's okay.
Schefter said
he's on the IR. It's like 6 weeks,
6 to 8, like max.
I hope so. I got him on my team. I hope so.
But anyway, 6 to 8 weeks is a long time. And I'm curious to see how that offense, they already brought Kareem Hunt in for a visit, I think yesterday, which would be Monday now. So I'm curious to see how their offense is going to keep going, but I wouldn't stamp anything on Joe Burrow yet because, the guy
I thought he showed a lot of heart. I thought Burrow, by the way, the strip sack, scoop and score for a touchdown. I thought, now I had the Chiefs money line, so I was rooting for it. I thought he was down. So I don't even know if that was properly called. And then the last call of the game, the pass interference, which gives them into field goal range. Obviously, Bucker guy could kick from 60, so he makes it no problem. That was very marginal. And you know what I really liked about Burrow is he showed leadership. Jamar Chase, I don't know what's going on with this fucking guy right now. He went back with the contract shit. He threw a shit fit in the middle of the game that cost them 15 yards. And Burrow went in after he didn't stop and really just told him like, yo, shut the fuck up, man. And I thought it showed a lot of leadership out of Burrow to do that. I know they're obviously boys, but I don't know what's going on with that guy, man. Throwing his helmet on the sidelines, throwing a fit. They need T. Higgins back. They need a secondary playmaker that can make plays. You saw they lost Joe Mixon. Now he got hurt last week, but he looks really good still with the Texans. They're lacking playmakers, and I think getting T. Higgins back whenever he comes, if it's this week or the following week, it's going to open things up, and hopefully they start clicking back on all cylinders. But I thought Joe Burrow played he showed a lot of heart. He scrambled for a huge first down, really was jacked up. He was alive on the sidelines, and they kind of got screwed. And, it kind of just seems like when you watch Chiefs games, for whatever reason, I don't know what it happens to be, but you're just kind of waiting for them to get that call late in the game, and they got it again. And it worked out for me this week because I had a money line, but they should have lost that game. They should have lost it clearly. And I thought the Bengals played with a lot of heart. Tick, that was your game of the week. It was a great call. And I think the Bengals are going to be fine. But again, they gotta get their shit in order. There's a lot of drama now with this Jamar Chase. I don't know what's going on there. And something like that can really just disrupt the entire team.
The amount of times that we've come on this show or anyone on ESPN comes on or any sports show anywhere, and you come back on Monday, when you're talking about the games, to say that the opposing team should have beat the Chiefs, they should have won that game. It's their game to lose, and the Chiefs just keep finding ways, whether it's their own play or whether it's the refs helping them out or whatever. The amount of times they walk away from games that they should have lost. Yeah. I mean, it feels like we say it almost every week. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
As long as 15 is the quarterback and as long as Andy Reid is that coach, you'd be very, very foolish not to every single year just sprinkle something on them to win the Super Bowl every year. I'm sorry. That's the point it's gotten to. They are literally the modern Belichick Brady. They're the modern Belichick Brady. That's just what it is. The same thing with the Pats. Remember, the Pats wouldn't necessarily blow every team out every week, but it would be like every week, oh, the Patriots won again. They found a way to win again. Somehow they won again. Oh, they should have lost that game. We're living it all over.
Yeah, we sure are.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to the game that maybe not everybody, but certainly a lot of people want us to get to. The Saints, Joey D. They want something from you with Derek Carr and the Saints. The Saints went in and steamrolled.
Saints go marching in, Joseph.
In Dallas.
Team scored like 100 points in 2 weeks.
You stand by Derek Carr, or you holding strong on that take?
Tell you what, Clint Kubiak's doing a hell of a job over there, man. First season as offensive coordinator. He's up play calls. He's calling. I will say this. I said last week, if they go in and do it to Dallas, I'll admit it. Derek Carr looks great right now, but they are getting anything and everything that they want. it felt like every time Kamara touched the ball
on
a
he
run,
looked like LaDainian Tomlinson.
He sure did, dude.
This guy hasn't had a week like that in years.
Or prime Kamara, I should say. I don't want to disrespect Kamara. He looked like prime Alvin Kamara.
He looked like Jamal Charles that one week against the Raiders when he scored 5 touchdowns and every run was like 40 yards. And I will say this, listen, Derek Carr's making plays. He looks good. He's playing well. Kudos to him. But when you dump a screen pass off to a running back who runs 60 yards to pay dirt for a touchdown, that's going to pad the stats nicely. And the Cowboys looked so anemic, so pathetic.
Their defense
on defense.
Like shit.
It looked like they couldn't muster a stop to save their lives. So yes, you know what? I'm gonna to all the Saints listeners. I know there was a few people messaging me. Congratulations, Derek Carr looks reborn, but I don't know how long that's going to be sustainable. Now, I got that Raheed Shaheed in my lineup now after losing
he's a rocket,
Nakua, and I hope he keeps playing great because he's got speed. They got things. And by the way, Olave really hasn't even done anything that much up until this point. So you know what? Maybe this is a team to be reckoned with. Kudos to you guys. If you're a Saints fan right now, you're enjoying it. Let's see where we are at the end of the season. But I can admit when I'm wrong. So far, Derek Carr looks very good. And so far, he's making all the plays. He's not making big mistakes. They look good.
You know what the thing that I think everyone is so fixated on that offense, the Saints defense. The Saints defense is a good defense.
Cameron Jordan is unbelievable, man.
The secondary is good. They are a good defense. They play solid, keep everything in front of you. It's not really like superstar studded like Micah Parsons and TJ Watt, and they're just a really solid defense. And I don't think many people are talking about that, but that defense deserves a lot of credit as well, because they are rock solid all the way around. And that is going to help them because, it's going to get the offense back on the field. It's going to keep the opposing defense on the field. And if the offense continues the way they're going. Now, to me, Derek Carr, I've seen this before. I'm not going to get fooled by it. I've seen Derek Carr put up MVP numbers when he was with the Raiders. That one season that he was on a tear, he was in legitimate MVP candidacy. He got hurt right before the playoffs or that first playoff. I've seen it before. So now is he back on that trajectory and he's got it back figured out? Or is it going to be one of those things where it's just, he starts off like, a firework and goes up in the air and then he blows up and then it's over? Or is it going to be something sustained throughout the whole season? Again, time is going to tell that. But certainly, if you're a Saints fan, a dream start for the Saints.
That being said, they by no means have this division wrapped up because Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield somehow looks fucking reborn. I don't know. I don't know when these guys went from the end of last season. By the way, friend of the program, so we love you, Baker. But I don't know when. These guys, Michael, you don't mean that. I don't know when these guys went from the looking just like average, run-of-the-mill guys. Baker Mayfield last week looked like he was playing with the Sooners again. The guy was running. He was dodging plays. He was extending plays. He somehow made a line. See, now he got sacked like a zillion times by Aiden Hutchinson, but he made the plays. He won them the game. They look good. The Falcons are still a team to reconcile with. They still look like they could do something if Cousins can figure it out. Now, the Panthers are the fucking trash of the league. But you got 3 teams there that can compete night in, night out. So if you're a Saints fan, it's by no means is this NFC South gift wrapped with the bow this year.
Yeah, I really thought that division was going to be absolutely putrid. I thought the Falcons would run away with it. Again, I got to see it over an extended period of time with both Baker and with Derek Carr, because again, I've seen this movie before where these guys look excellent for a little, short period of time. Let's see if they could sustain it. If they can, with the defenses that they have, Tampa's defense ain't bad either.
Tampa's defense is tough.
Even though the Lions somehow racked up 400 yards of offense or something, they just didn't win the game. However the fuck that works. But it's that division's probably the biggest surprise division right now, I would say, with Tampa and with New Orleans. I don't think anybody saw that coming. I really don't.
Yeah, I think after 2 weeks, you can't put too much stock in
that,
Baker Mayfield and Derek Carr. But that being said, dream start for both of those teams.
Absolutely.
Beating quality
Absolutely.
teams and for the, at least for
listen, your chances at the playoffs at 0-2 or 2-0 are so insanely different. Insanely different. So good for both of them and good for those fan bases. I'm sure. I mean,
let's see where Carr is after 6 weeks. Let's see if he still looks this good. I mean, I put my hand up. I said I was wrong, but if you don't think I'll come back,
if this guy do that just yet.
If this guy bottoms out, you don't think I'm going to come back on here? And
we know you are.
Yeah.
We know you are.
All right, let's move on to the 49ers losing against Minnesota.
Sammy boy.
Sammy D.
It's really a hot start for friends of the program, man. It really is. Darnold and Baker and Josh Allen. And I mean,
the Bobo effect.
It's hard not to for Sammy D, man. I mean,
dude, listen, these guys, they haven't lost a game, any of these guys. Baker 2-0, Darnold 2-0, Allen 2-0.
I mean, yeah.
Who'd you say? Yeah.
Allen 2-0. I mean, they're
Allen 2-0.
Friends of the program are 6-0 in the NFL. Pretty good.
But maybe more shocking than anything, those 49ers who looked fantastic last week, only putting up 17 points and losing, albeit in Minnesota, but still to a team they probably should have beaten.
This is
people would have thought.
Pop, this is when you're going to see what Brock Purdy's made of, because this guy for so long has had an embarrassment of riches. And now you take away CMC. Now the backup still looks great, but now you take away CMC and Debo now looks like he's going to be out for probably at least a couple weeks. So this guy's now going to be still going to have Ayuk. He's still going to have Kittle, but this is where you're going to have to see what he's actually made of and like how good of a quarterback he actually is to face some real adversity here early on in the season. The defense though is still good. They're still going to make plays. Fred Warner, to me, Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong, he looks like maybe one of the top defensive players in the entire league. Every single week, this guy makes an interception, a huge a tackle for a fumble. Like he's just in the right place at the right time, which is a sign of a great linebacker.
The best off-ball linebacker in football by a wide margin. And no disrespect to like a Roquan Smith, but Fred Warner is of a different class. I've been saying it for years now that this guy is like a heat-seeking missile. He's a special player. He's a special, he pops off film. He catches your eye every single play. He's a different player. He's a different animal. He's just a different animal, this guy. I'm not worried about Purdy, and I'm not worried. And I'm going to tell you why. Whatever reason, football's weird. It's wonky. It's wacky. This Vikings team has his number. He was 0-2 against Minnesota before that. Now he's 0-3 against Minnesota. This is a team, for whatever reason, has his number. Brian
Flores, like the Bengals with Kansas City.
It happens like that. And the Dolphins with the Bills. I mean, sometimes it just is that way, and they have his number. They have the Packers with the Niners.
Lord knows we can't beat that team to save our lives.
Some things are just very weird. So that's why, again,
it's also hard to win on the road in the NFL.
Very hard to win in the NFL, period. But this team just has their number. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button if you're a Niners fan. Now, the Niners schedule is terrible. I keep telling people this. They have the worst net rest disadvantage in like the last 20 or 30 years in the NFL. They have the least amount of rest days in the last 20, 30 years. That may catch up to them, especially because so many guys are getting dinged up. Bosa had an ankle. I don't know what his status is going to be this week. Like Joe said, Debo's out. CMC, everyone knows what's going on there. CMC, I tell you what, I'm a little nervous about that, the tendonitis in the Achilles, because I'm not so sure that's, we're going to plop him on the IR and in 4 weeks he's going to come back, he's going to be fine. That could be a lingering type of thing. So, I mean, it's going to be a daunting task for them, but I do think that they're built to overcome it. And I think Shanahan is that good that he'll get the most out of those role players like Joe was talking about. Who are you going to go to now? With those guys out, your Kittle, your Ayuk, your Juwan Jennings, Jordan Mason. So you could go to those other guys, and I think Shanahan will get the best out of them. So I'm not panicking if I'm a Purdy guy, a Niners guy, not yet, because that team just has his number, whatever reason it is.
It's also a situation where when you're one of the best teams in the NFL, it doesn't matter who you play. Every week, those other teams, they have that week scheduled, circled on the calendar. They're playing their toughest football because they want to beat you.
Yeah.
That goes a long way.
And he's not CMC, but I tell you what, that Jordan Mason is playing
good.
Good football, man. He's come in and looked like a pretty serviceable backup at this point. And then, yeah, I mean, Brandon Ayuk, he just made that huge fuss. It's time for him to step up. George Kittle, at least from a fantasy perspective, is having one of his better starts to a season. As a fantasy owner of him, that's quite nice to see, because he was always this touted guy. He's a great blocker and he's a great offensive weapon, but for whatever reason, he just wouldn't put up a lot of points. And so it's a great start for him. They're going to need to lean on him a lot. And they're still a good team, but I think you're right, Joe. I think we're going to find out a lot about Brock Purdy at this point.
The good teams, it's funny, like you talk about Jordan Mason. You remember who CMC's backup was prior to Jordan, it was Elijah Mitchell. Yeah. And when Elijah Mitchell played, a lot of people were like, oh my God, this Elijah Mitchell looks great. He looks great. Now Jordan Mason comes in. He looks great. He looks great. When you're a good team, and you have the right guys in the trenches on that offensive line, and you have an offensive coach like Shanahan, they make everybody look good. Everybody looks good. Same thing in Miami with McDaniel. It doesn't. Raheem Mostert goes there. He has a career-defining year last year. Then a chain looks great. It's like those guys who know offense inside and out and scheme with the pre-snap motions and all these wacky formations and all this shit that they're doing that a lot of people haven't seen before, and they put the right pieces up front, they could plug and play a lot of guys. And these guys are the best of the best. They've been drafted. They're the best football players on the planet. Maybe, not compared to other guys in the league in terms of name, contract, salary, but they plug and play these guys. And on the good teams with the good coaches, it always seems like, who's this guy? This guy's great. This guy can do well. It's funny how that works. It doesn't work like that in some teams, like my team. That doesn't work. That doesn't work like that.
All right, well, let's move on to the next game here. Mikey, I'm not going to put you through talking about the Bears this past week, but we'll get to them in the week 3 previews. But let's talk Packers Colts, and then we'll move on to week 3. Packers at Lambeau, winning 16-10 there, Joseph, with the backup quarterback. What'd you like?
I mean, there's a lot to like. Josh Jacobs looks unbelievable. I said it before this last episode. I said, I don't understand what I saw out of him against Philly. He looked so good, and they just did not give him the ball enough. They committed to running the ball. They gave him the ball early, and he rolled, dude, and he looked unbelievable. What do you have, like 150 yards rushing more? I think 100. He looked unbelievable. Malik Willis looked very competent. He looked very comfortable. He didn't make any really bad, stupid mistakes. He rolled out when he saw that there was room to run. He ran the ball. When he saw players were open, he threw. He made good throws. I thought he played a very seamless start to finish game as a backup quarterback. I thought he looked very good. So much so that they were talking about Jordan Love potentially coming back to play this past week. I think Malik Willis played so well that the Packers are just going to continue to rest Love this week. They play the Titans in Nashville, and I think that you'll see, if he is healthy, you'll see Jordan Love come back the week after, if he can, to play a strong Vikings team that they're going to need a win. But I was very happy. I thought the defense played very well. They held a very, very potentially dangerous player like Anthony Richardson at bay. They did a good job with Jonathan Taylor. They didn't allow any huge plays to take place. So overall, I thought a very well coached game. I'm normally hard on LaFleur. This is one of the times I will give him kudos. I thought he had this team ready to roll. It also makes a big difference when you're playing at Lambeau at home, and you have the home stadium and the fans behind you. But from start to finish, I was very impressed with the Packers. And, it sounds like Love isn't that banged up. Hopefully he comes back in a couple weeks. The Packers could be back, man. I was very, very happy with what I saw.
Mikey?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll say one thing and one thing only. Winning in the NFL is extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult. Winning in the NFL, period. Home, away. Winning with a backup quarterback is near impossible. It's beyond difficult to win with a backup quarterback. Any win you get with a backup quarterback, I don't care what the box score looks like. I don't care what the stats look like. I don't care how many running yards you gave up, passing yard. If you win the game in the NFL with a backup quarterback and you know you're going to get your guy back eventually, you take every single win that you could get and you just move on. We got the win and we move on. I don't care who did what. Just chalk up the W. Malik Willis got you a W. You would have never expected that preseason, and move on to the next game.
And they won pretty handily, Michael, from start to finish. They
Great
were the
win
best
for the
team.
Packers. This Colts team, like I said at the beginning of the year, a lot of people were making this Colts team out to be a darling. Anthony Richardson, to me, look, I think he's a special athlete. I think he's a very special athlete. I think he could throw the ball a country mile. He's got arm talent. Again, I need to see him consistently do. We can't anoint guys like this when the guy he's never even played more than a month, and we're talking about the Colts are going to be a good team. I'm just not there yet.
He's got the potential. There's no doubt about it.
But for the Packers, that's a win. You take it and you run, and you just go to the next game. You got to win.
They're one game behind in their division now.
That's it.
They're right back in the mix.
That's
Malik
it.
Willis, man, when you get that out of your backup, when you don't throw an interception and you don't he didn't take a single sack either.
No.
See, and that's
that line held really well.
Dude, when you have an offensive line, man, it just makes everything so much better.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. All right, let's move on to week 3 here, starting with the Thursday night game. Patriots are rolling into MetLife Stadium playing the Jets. Jets are favored by 6.5 points, under 38.5. What do you boys like?
I don't think after the 2 games the Jets have shown that they're going to prove to me that they should be 6.5 point favorites. I tell you what, the Patriots have played tough. They played Seattle all the way that entire game. Ramondre Stevenson's running hard. Gerard Mayo's got that team playing good football. I would take the Patriots to cover in this game. I really would.
Yeah, listen, Tennessee is a team that is a couple plays away from being 2-0. They should have beat the Bears in the first week. And last week against the Jets, this guy makes another remarkably dumb turnover, Will Levis. So, how much is on Will Levis? I think Tennessee, really good defense and some really good offense. I really do. And when you look at that and see what the Jets did, they barely escaped that, but they did. And Rodgers got it going a little bit. Braylon Allen, the backup running back oh my God, Breece Hall looked very good. He looked explosive. Garrett Wilson, when him and Rodgers are on the same page, that almost feels like it's unstoppable to a degree when they're on the same page. You know what? Again, not something that I do think it's a lot of lumber, Joe. I do. And the Jets traditionally have had their issues with the Patriots, whether the Patriots were bad or good. Game is at MetLife, Tick.
Yeah,
there is. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to take the Jets I'll take the Jets to cover just because Thursday traveling on the road is like the worst spot in the NFL always. The Jets defense, though, let me tell you something. The Jets defense has got to get it together.
They got to figure some stuff out.
This was supposed to be 85 Bears. These guys were talking about and all this shit.
Everyone's 85 Bears until they suck.
Jermaine Johnson ruptured Achilles is devastating because this guy, Tick's boy from the Eagles, Hassan Reddick, and the drama with that, the Jets are thin at pass rusher. Bryce Huff off to the Eagles. Jermaine Johnson ruptured Achilles. Hassan Reddick not playing. That is a disaster for the Jets. It really complicates what they try to do, stopping the run and obviously getting pressure on the quarterback. So you know what? I'm flipping my pick. I'm talking to myself. I'm going to go with Joe. I'm going to ride the Pats. Give me the Pats with the points.
The Patriots are running the football right now, man.
I do think it's too many points. I think it's too many. I think the Jets will win the game. I think the Jets will win the game by a field goal.
It should be like a 3.5 point spread.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm gonna take the Pats. Give me the Pats.
I'm going early game of the week here. Thursday
night. The pop.
This guy's on fire. When you're on fire, you just see it like
he's 2-0, man. He's seeing the deal.
You just see the board. Just see the board. See the board.
I love the Patriots plus 6.5 here.
I think it's the play.
I think, I think that's I shouldn't say easy, but I think that's a crazy line, especially the way the Jets been playing. Another guy on defense, Mikey, who needs to step it up. Sauce Gardner is not playing that great of football. He's playing easy football.
Yeah, they were talking about that on New York radio, and like one of the
you're listening to New York radio. That's
one of the afternoon guys made a comment about him, and the fans just went nuts because they interpreted it as him saying that Sauce is not good and he's overrated, and like New York, you can't say that because Sauce is to Jets fans, Sauce is he's like Darrelle Revis. to them again.
Yeah,
like
that's
like they're
preposterous.
I
Anointed.
understand that, but that's really what it is.
Does not deserve that.
I understand what you're saying,
Darrell
Joe, but
Revis did it for years, Mikey.
is,
they had to literally call it Revis Island because he went up against the best wide receiver week in, week out, and he shut them all down.
I know, but I'm just telling you, this is how Jets fans hold Sauce Gardner. Modern Jet fans hold Sauce Gardner in the same regard as old Jet fans regarded Darrell Revis. That's like how much they love this guy and how much they hype this guy. And he's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I do see
Darrell Revis is this.
He's just out there playing a little lazy football. He's still obviously got it. It's just he needs to take it seriously. All right, let's keep it moving. I'm going to jump around here just because I got probably another half an hour left, but you guys let me know if you got a game of the week or a game you really like that I skip over. Just let me know. But let's move on here to the Eagles heading to New Orleans. New Orleans is favored by 2.5 points, over under 49.5. What do you guys like?
I like New Orleans. I hate to say it, but yeah, I just from what I've seen the last 2 weeks from the Eagles, and it almost comes down to the coaching, man. The coaching decisions and some of the calls and it almost has put this team in a weird position. And you got a team that's got so much momentum, so much, I don't know, the it factor early on. They're going to be playing out of their shoes. This game could get away from the Eagles if they don't play tough early on. The offense with Jalen Hurts has not looked explosive at all. They are going to have to run the ball with Saquon a ton. And as Mikey mentioned, this Saints defense is nothing to fret about. They're pretty fucking tough and they're going to play tough. So I would take this. I can't believe I'm saying it. I would take the Saints to cover the 2.5.
Yeah, I'm on the Saints too. And I'm going to tell you why. The defense for the Saints. And here's my issue with the Eagles. Bijan Robinson, 14 carries for 100 yards, average 7 yards a carry. This is not an outlier because the week before, Joe mentioned it, Josh Jacobs torched that Eagles. The Eagles got torched on the run back to back.
Line is a real problem.
And I'm going to tell you this,
a lot of picks and a lot of money into them too.
The two highest PFF rated players on the offensive side of football right now are both offensive linemen from the New Orleans Saints. Wow. Their offensive line is scary. They're going to run the ball on Philly. I like the Saints. I like them minus the 2.5. I think Philly's going to have a tough time slowing them down. Philly needs this game though, man. They really need a bounce back after that horrific
loss. Is AJ
loss.
Brown playing? Is he going to be back?
No, he's going to be out for a couple weeks now.
I would take the Saints.
Especially when your next best player, who is arguably one of the better number 2s in the league, Devonta Smith is one of the most talented guys out there. He's just so underused by our team.
Yeah, he is.
And you do get the ball in his hands. He's a special player. We just refuse to do it. We throw it to guys like Covey. And I love Jahan Dotson, but he shouldn't be getting more targets than Devonta Smith. But it's unbelievable. So I like the Saints too for a lot of the reasons that Mikey just said. Our D line is so poor right now. It's so unbelievably poor. And if Alvin Kamara is going to keep running like that behind the offensive line that he's got, it almost doesn't matter too much what Derek Carr does. He just needs to not make mistakes. He needs
traditionally that's been a problem for him.
Fletcher Cox and Hargrave as the duo up the middle. And I know a lot of people, they're Jalen Carter and who's the huge guy from Georgia?
Jordan from Georgia.
Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, as much as I like them, are not Fletcher Cox and Hargrave. They're just not. They're not as dynamic. I don't.
Fletcher Cox still in the league right now? I think he is.
I thought he retired. Fletcher.
He's done.
Yeah. They're not as dynamic as those two guys. And again, it's not just Bijan Robinson either. Tyler Algier carried the ball 9 times for 60 yards. He averaged 6 yards a carry. So it's like everybody who's touching the ball running against this defense is running for it's just the holes are incredible. And that O-line is really good. It's going to be tough, Tick. That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. Give me the Saints, the minus the 2.5. Let's move on here. Let's go to the 49ers in LA playing the Rams with that washed up Matt Stafford. San Francisco minus 7.5, over under 43.5. Who do you guys like there?
This Rams team is in disarray, man. They are
absolutely everybody's hurt.
Everyone's hurt. Puka Nacua goes out. Cooper Kupp looks like now he's out. Half of the line is out. Me taking them as my play of the week, I look like a fucking fool, and for all the reasons I was. I'm not gonna get caught up in that again. I think San Francisco has a bounce back game. What's the spread?
7.5.
It's a lot of lumber, especially for a team that's also banged up. But the Rams are beyond banged up. I would maybe buy the hook, bring it down to 7. I think that San Francisco's going to cover this game. Yeah, if you're not going to buy points, I'd just take San Fran and just bite the bullet. I mean, listen, if the Rams, I think the only way the Niners don't cover that spread is a late backdoor touchdown or something like that.
Like
by
some
the Rams.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Yes. Like the Niners are up like 15 and then the Rams score a touchdown at the end when nobody gives a shit with like 30 seconds left. That's the only way I could see that.
Their defense couldn't stop Kyler, man. They couldn't stop anything.
They're decimated offensively, man. They have nobody to go to now. Kieran Williams is not going to be able to carry the whole load by himself. It's just,
just going to stack the box.
And I do hate to say it, Tick, but Matty Stafford is, he's in the twilight. He's in the twilight of his career.
Well, it doesn't help that his.
No, it doesn't. It certainly does not. It does not. Does not. And I love Matty Stafford. You know this.
Too. But yes. I think I have to start seeing the light.
You look like clueless Joe Jackson. Never mind shoeless Joe Jackson. Fucking twilight of his career, bro. He was he was terrible.
Joe Jackson. Joe's been saving that one for a minute.
Yeah, yes. I'm staying away from the spread here. Give me the under 43.5.
Oh, okay. Good play. Good play.
I don't like that spread at all. There's just, I'm not going to touch that. I don't think either of these teams are all that great offensively right now. I mean, I think the 49ers, even if they score 30, 33 points, that under still might hit. I don't think the Rams are going to score almost at all. So give me the under 43.5. Let's move on here. Packers are heading to Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 3 points.
Well, yeah, Malik Willis.
36.5. Who you boys like?
I think the Packers are going to win this game, man. I really do. I think the Packers, from what they showed me, if they can commit to the run and if they can get Josh Jacobs going early on, I think Malik Willis can do enough to get us the win. But again, it's going to come down to running the ball, time of possession. The defense is going to have to play tough. And Will Levis, so far, to me, looks like a tale of two halves. One half, he looks great. The next half, the guy doesn't know if he's on the football field.
Yeah, if you pressure him, if you get pressure on Will Levis, it's a wrap. But if he could sit in a clean pocket and throw, he's actually made some really nice throws. I'll give him that. He's made some really nice throws to Calvin Ridley. Ridley looks really spry this year. He looks like he's got his groove back a little bit. That's a tricky game, man. I think Tennessee is a little better. If it wasn't for Will Levis's decisions and turnovers,
back-to-back
would
weeks,
be 2-0. They'd be 2-0, and I think everyone would have a different opinion on it.
But a guy who makes bad mistakes, 2.5 Tennessee.
Okay,
no, I got 3 here. I got 3.
Oh, 3?
3.5 or 3?
No, just 3.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the Packers with the points, and I think maybe you push worst case scenario.
I'd take the Packers with the points, and if you're going to do that, maybe sprinkle them to win too. If it's going to be a field goal game.
Not a game I would bet, though. A dangerous game to bet, because I'm telling you.
The other thing is Malik Willis could show up and just look horrific, and it could be an absolute blowout for
That's
Tennessee.
His old team, though, right? Tennessee?
Yes.
Could be Malik Willis revenge week. Could be Malik Willis revenge game.
Maybe a couple of Malik Willis stats. I bet you they're not going to be that high.
No, I'll tell you, the Malik Willis over under completions is probably like 10.5.
Yeah. Well, he had 11 last week, I think.
That's what I'm saying. Vegas is probably going to put it at like 13.5. I'm not even fucking around.
Yeah. Give me the Packers plus the 3. I just, with the Packers defense looking as good as it has, and then a guy like Will Levis, I agree with you, Mikey, that he has made some really great throws, but I could say that about Jalen Hurts too. And what I could also say about Jalen Hurts is he makes almost the same amount of dumb plays.
Yeah. No, so you're not wrong.
If you're going to make those dumb plays against a Packers defense that looks pretty damn good right now, I like the Packers plus the 3, even in Tennessee. But you're right. I mean, Tennessee could be 2-0 just as easy as they're 0-2. But give me the plus 3 for the Packers. Let's move on to the Bears Colts. I didn't make you talk about week 2, but let's talk about week 3 Bears. Indy's favored by 1 point, over under 43.5.
In Indianapolis?
Yeah.
In Indy, yeah.
Yeah, look, just briefly about Sunday night, very briefly. The Bears competed better than I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to get tattooed by the Texans. I said this is a game where they're going to get brought to reality very harshly. They competed fiercely because the defense is very good. Caleb, actually, people trying to blame Caleb on this game, it boggles my brain. This guy has gotten the ball out over the first 2 weeks of the season. He's getting the ball out, the 8th fastest quarterback in the league at getting the ball out of his hand. It's not about him holding the ball too long. He started this game 5 for 5. But when you have offensive linemen doing what I saw Sunday night, lookout blocks where you're just standing there and you yell, look out. That's a lookout block, we used to call it. Lookout blocks from all of these guys, 7 sacks, 17 pressures. I don't care if Joe Montana's behind that offensive line. They are not going to win like that. And Shane Waldron, the offensive coordinator, who everyone told me, who was a Seattle fan, told me I was going to hate this guy. I don't say I hate him yet, but something that's missing is this offense has no identity. They can't run the ball. They haven't run the ball. When they attempt to, it doesn't work. DeAndre Swift, like you talk about, Tick, this guy in the hole, I mean, I saw a burst in preseason. I haven't seen it yet in the regular season. Rome Odunze looks like he's running a little scared out there. He looks very green. Haven't seen anything from him. If Keenan Allen's out again, this Bears team has to turn it around, and it has to happen this week because the Colts, in my opinion, are not good. They can't stop the run, so the Bears have to run the ball. This is a situation where this is a pick 'em game, and I'm going to pick the Chicago Bears to win the game because I feel as though this is it. This is almost, it's not a must-win game, but the sentiment right now is so unfairly already starting to talk about bust on Caleb Williams, which is so stupid. It's so stupid to say that. We're 2 games into this kid's career, and this team, this organization could ruin him if that blocking continues like that, and they continue to do that. And if the fans start turning on him already, this kid's going to get fucking ruined already. So I'm going to take the Bears because I think it's a desperation spot for them. I really do. I think they're going to come out, and maybe that's not going to be good, and they're going to play too tight. But in a pick'em game, I'm taking the team that I think is the better team, and I think the Bears showed that they're a good team with a really horrible offense. They're a good team with a really inconsistent, horrible offense because special teams, one of the best punters in the league, a reliable field goal kicker, and a top 5 defense. But offensively, if they don't figure it out, it ain't going to mean nothing against good teams. Colts aren't a good team, in my opinion. Give me the Bears.
Joey D?
I'm taking the Colts. And I'm going to take the Colts for a couple of reasons. The first reason is, and Mikey, you touched on it briefly, the play calling for the Chicago Bears is mind-boggling. Jen and I were watching, we were streaming the game. Every play is a screen. It's a tight end,
to a backup tight end. Gerald
they are not allowing this guy to throw the ball downfield. They have weapons.
There's a rush in his face in 2 seconds.
That's the second reason. Yeah. That's the second reason is because this guy, they just picked up where they left off with Justin Fields. This guy's got all the talent in the world. He's eluding. He's trying to extend plays, and he's running for his life. If you don't think, by the way, he's thinking in the back of his head, he has not thrown a touchdown pass yet this season.
I know.
He has not exactly put up mind-blowing stats. And you know what, Mikey? You're right. For people who are saying that he's a bust, it's a ridiculous thing because it's 2 games into the season. But when you're the first overall pick, you're struggling offensively. You don't think that this guy's hearing that in the back of his mind?
Oh, he's hearing
100%. He's going to have a lot of pressure. And I agree with you, Mikey. This is a big game for them that they're going to have to win because whether you like it or not, the Colts are 0-2. If the Bears go out and lose this game, they're going to be, they can't beat a team that's winless, that the Packers beat with the fucking backup quarterback. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. I think that there's the defense looks unbelievable. But if you can't score points, you can't win the game. The only way the Bears are going to win this game is if they get a pick 6 or if they're going to get a strip sack deep in Indy's territory, which is possible. But I can't pick a team that can't score points. They have 1 offensive touchdown in 2 games.
I know.
And they're on the road. So for those reasons, it's not, people are going to say, oh, Joey doesn't like the Bears.
No,
I just got to pick the Colts. I think 1 point game at home. They can run the ball. I think it's going to be, I would take the under, whatever the under is in this game. Give me the
43 and a half.
Oh my God.
Bears surprisingly, a surprising 2-0 against the spread this year, however, but Joe's points are all,
you know
valid.
what, Mikey, I'm going to make
points.
that. What's the spread? Under 43?
Under
43 and a half. Yeah.
I am going to make that my play of the week.
Oh,
I'm taking the under on it. And listen, one of these teams has one touchdown in two weeks. The other team is facing a defense that just shut down CJ Stroud and an unbelievable potent offense. I am taking the under 43 as my play of the week.
It's a good play.
I like that a lot. For the Bears, man, how many quarterbacks are you going to do this to?
It's unbelievable.
I know,
Meanwhile,
man.
Fields is 2-0, and now they're going to be looking over your shoulder.
And I refuse to call any quarterback, including Justin Fields, when you have an offensive line that can't even give you half a second and you're running for your life. I will never call a guy a bust. I'll call him ruined. And I think they ruined Justin Fields. Was he going to be the world's greatest quarterback? Probably not. Could he have been a whole lot better? I bet he could have if he had at least 2 seconds back there. I mean, even if he had half a second more. And forget about it with Caleb Williams, the talent's obviously there. But like Mikey said earlier, not even Joe Montana could do anything back there.
The fact that this guy
no time.
The fact that this guy went 24 or 37 with that kind of protection on Sunday night is a godsend miracle. It's a miracle that he even did that. That's why I'm so baffled by some of the comments from people this week. But again, bro, it's like Joe was saying, like, it feels like I've been watching the same team play for the last 1,000 years. It's just the offense stinks, and it's if the defense and the special teams don't score, they're not going to score many points.
If you're a Chicago fan, or you're the owner or the GM or anybody there, how long can you let poor play calling and a bad offensive line let great defensive talent, great special teams talent, and a lot of great offensive weapons? Caleb Williams, the #1 overall pick, DJ Moore. You got a lot of great DeAndre Swift. I'm a huge fan.
Wouldn't know that they have those guys on the team.
No, you wouldn't. Cole Kmet,
they can't even see the ball.
They just gave Cole Kmet a bag. He's a ghost. He's a ghost.
Yeah.
If I was the Bears, I would, for the next 2 years, just draft offensive linemen.
Joe, you're 100%. And that I imagine, again, like, expectations really for this year, like, realistically, the Bears were never going to.
What is he going to do for you any good?
You know.
The Bears were never going to win the Super Bowl this year. They have a ton of draft equity again this year. I think the plan was that this year was going to be the year in the offseason that they were just going to go trenches, both sides, because they need another edge rusher too. But this team, again, it just it's the same thing. And the saddest indictment, and I like the guy because I think he's done some incredible things for this team, Ryan Poles. The saddest thing, the biggest indictment, is that this guy was a former offensive lineman in the NFL.
Oh,
You're a former offensive lineman, and so is his assistant GM, Ian Cunningham. Your offensive line guys, how do you not know that this was never going to work? This group of guys was never going to work. It hasn't worked. Something needs to drastically change. Start different guys, change the combination.
How is your offense bad for the last 2 decades? I don't get it. I don't understand. You have a top. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm saying you have one of the best defenses every year. How can you not somehow?
Oh boy. Oh, it's not.
I just don't get it. No, but Ticket, I'm not even being facetious. I'm not trying to be like I'm not trying to dismantle it. I'm just asking the question. They have not had.
I don't have the answer.
They had a few Jay Cutler there. They had some good.
No, they did. I mean, when it was Cutler, Jeffrey, Marshall, Martellus Bennett, Matt Forte, they had some good offense.
Alshon Jeffrey was good. Yeah.
They had a nice little run, but the majority of time, Joe's right. It's all defense, special teams, no offense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just the way Chicago football has been since I've been a kid.
All right, boys. I'm going to keep this rolling. I'm going to take the Colts there. Unfortunately, I love me some Bears, man, and I like that Mikey's sticking by him here for this game. But I can't do it with that offensive line, man.
I hear you, dude. I hear you.
Unfortunately, like I said, I only got 10 minutes left. I do have to go. I've got a prior engagement tonight, but I'm going to forgo the questions and who's a problem to squeeze in 2 more games here. If you guys are okay with that.
Yeah.
Sure. All right, let's roll with Baltimore heading to Dallas. Another pick 'em. Baltimore's favored by 1 point, over under 48.5. Who do you guys like?
Man, you talk about two teams that are desperate for a win. After the way the Cowboys got embarrassed, and I understand they're 1-1, so obviously it's a little bit different. But after the Cowboys got embarrassed like that, and after the Ravens start 0-2, I mean, the game at Arrowhead, that's a tough loss. Anybody could just say, you know what, tough loss. You guys played a great game, which they did. But to lose at home as an 8-point favorite to the Raiders, that's unacceptable.
My God.
This is a desperate Baltimore team that's going to be coming in. And I think a little bit more desperate than Dallas. But again, that Ravens offense, man, just Lamar sometimes, when it's disjointed, man, is it ugly. What's the line, Tick?
To pick them, it's Baltimore's favored by 1.
Yeah, I'll take the Ravens.
Okay. Joey D?
Nothing about that Dallas defense showed me that they could stop even a nosebleed. And for those reasons, I don't think I have to give another reason. I'm going to take the Ravens.
What's that show? What was that show? What's the show?
It's Shark Tank.
Shark Tank, yeah. For those reasons, I'm out.
That's
right. Joe is the Mark Cuban of the Sportsmen.
Yeah,
bro, I mean, it was that was the most pathetic showing of a football game in front of your own fans.
Yeah, that's bad.
Micah
Parsons always chirping and talking something like, get it together, pal. Don't worry about it. He's always talking about guys on other teams and why other teams fail these other guys. How about you take a look in the mirror? Because your team has been failing miserably for years. You guys haven't won a playoff game since I don't even remember last time Dallas won a playoff game. Really, I mean, I'm not trying to get on the Cowboys, but Parsons in particular, always on Twitter, worried about what these other teams are doing with their players. Shut up. Just
and these Cowboys fans are so arrogant. The second they start winning a couple games, they're going to act like the last 30 years haven't happened. And
I just watch Stephen A. Smith's
fucking guys
channel every time a big loss happens.
He's brutal too, man. He don't let up at all. But that's because Skip Bayless. I mean, I think he's still getting.
As he should.
I just can't see the Ravens going 0-3. I just can't, especially against, like Joe said, that Cowboy defense. It's just atrocious right now. So give me the Ravens minus the 1. Let's move on to the Chiefs. They're heading to the 1-1 Atlanta Falcons. It's hard to say. Kansas City is favored by 3.5 points there, over under 46.5. Who do you boys like?
I'm really curious to see this Chiefs offense without Pacheco. I know people are going to be like, why does he keep talking about Pacheco? Because I think Pacheco's the driving force of that offense. I really do. Kelce, to me, and maybe Kelce's going to get going, and I'm sure he's going to get his. He does not look like the same guy to me this year. I saw him.
How could he with all the distractions and everything? By the way, the Kelce brothers need to step a little out. By the way, on a separate note, sorry to interject.
Here we go.
When Jason Kelce went into the booth last night, that's when it fell apart for the Eagles. And I've never seen a guest go in for a segment and stay for a quarter. He overstayed his welcome, and the Kelces are in every commercial, they got to get the fuck out and just get back to football.
I think everyone's a little sick of, I love Jason to death. He's Philadelphia royalty, but him and his wife have stepped quite into the limelight here, and they look like they don't want to leave either. So I understand
they've overstayed their welcome.
But that being said, I love the man. What he did for that city is
he's great. He's great.
Brother looks really lost out there.
I'm curious to see the Chiefs without Pacheco. But again, Atlanta, good win, bounce back win on the road against Philly. Certainly that's a really quality win for them. Chiefs are a different animal. And I'll take the Chiefs with the points.
All right, let's move on here. Mikey, what game are you focused on for your game of the week?
It's a great question. Why don't you let Joe pick the Chiefs game, and I'll take another look.
Okay.
It's in Atlanta.
It's
in Atlanta.
Yes.
Kansas City.
I fucking hate to do this. I'm going to take the Falcons to cover with the 3.5. I think the Chiefs would. The Chiefs they're not covering spreads. I understand they covered the spread week 1. They were a toe tap away from losing the game, and they should have lost this last week. And they got injuries, and I don't know what's going on, man. Their offense was not cooking, and their defense was struggling. I will take the Falcons. I think, again, chalk is always going to chalk, and the Kansas City Chiefs are the chalk of the league, and everybody bets them. I'll take the Falcons plus 3.5. I wouldn't touch this game, though, by the way. No. If I actually had a chance, I would stay the hell away from this game.
The Chiefs love playing up to their opponent and down to their opponent, regardless of who it is. They could play the Panthers and play a tight game next week. It just seems like they're that kind of team. And then on the other side with the Falcons, you never know which Kirk Cousins you're going to get. Are you going to get the Kirk Cousins that diced up the Eagles defense like Swiss cheese on that last drive there? Or are you going to get the Kirk Cousins for the first 3.5 quarters of that game? You never know, but they do still always have Bijan Robinson. The Chiefs lost Isaiah Pacheco. I think it's going to be a tight game. I would stay away, just like Joe said, but I like the under in that game too. I like under 46.5. I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game. I think it's going to be a lot of running from the Falcons, and the Chiefs just love long drives. They just love long, sustained, methodical drives. So I like the under in that game, 46.5.
Want to talk about long, methodical drives, Tick? Let's talk about a long drive up I-95 north for my game of the week for this loser organization that can't get it together, an overrated quarterback. Give me the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football -5 against the Jags as my game of the week. The Jacksonville Jaguars, team that was kind of starting off 0-2. Trevor Lawrence really struggling. He's going to get right going up the I-95 to Buffalo in the front of the Bills Mafia on a Monday night where Josh Allen in prime time, we already saw extra long little break for Josh Allen coming off Thursday Night Football. Bills get those extra couple days of rest to take on this soft Jacksonville team in their building. The Bills at night with the Mafia throwing dildos on the field and beer and shit, whatever they used to do. Give me the Bills -5 to absolutely eviscerate the Jacksonville Jaguars. Eviscerate them. Let's go Bills.
The thing about the Jags, man, I mean, as poor as Lawrence has looked, you got to find a way to get the ball into Christian Kirk's hands, man. He's probably their best offensive player, maybe Etienne as well. But Christian Kirk, when he gets the ball in his hand, I think he was targeted once and he had one catch for -1 yard. You got to find a way to get the ball in the playmaker's hands.
But Trevor Lawrence is scrambling for his life, and he's making stupid decisions and bad throws.
And you can't.
And I've been hard on him in the past. Man. And I tried to turn a leaf, Tick, and I told you this guy ain't it. And he just got paid like he's it. Like all these other guys.
Look what they did to Tua in his building before he got hurt. 3 interceptions. They punished him. James Cook, Keon Coleman hasn't even gotten involved yet. They're going to move Kincaid around.
Kincaid hasn't gotten involved at all.
No, I know. That's
first drive of the game, Mikey. He had like 3 catches. I was like, okay, he's going to go off. And then he didn't do anything else.
They didn't need him because Cook just.
And you know what? The Bills have got to be salivating because everybody and their mother said that they were going to suck this year, and now they're just.
I was a little down on the Bills. I thought this might have been a wacky year for them. So far, it hasn't been, and I really like them in a strong spot this week against Jacksonville at home Monday night. Man, I just can't see a Florida team going up to Buffalo with that crowd. That's just a great spot for Buffalo, in my opinion.
I'm 0 for 2 on quarterbacks in that draft class, man. I love Justin Fields and I love Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I know you love Trevor. Yeah,
they're both proven to be. I got to eat some crow on both those guys, but especially I was always hyping them up around Joe, and it's starting to look like that was the right take. And man, Jacksonville's in a bad spot, dude. I like the Bills as well to cover. Mikey, I got 5.5 here. Feel free to take the 5.5. If you want. It's on ESPN, but
I mean, I only go by one sports book and one sports book only. That's our friends over at DraftKings who have it at -5. More, if you're a Bills guy, that's a lot more favorable than 5.5. Head on over to DraftKings.
What a segue.
Oh, all right. Well, let's wrap it up there, boys. Sorry we didn't get to your questions. We'll double up on the questions next week. Also with Who's a Problem, that'll be back. Another good episode, though, boys. A lot of football talk. It's back. It's fun to talk about. It's fun to see. Let's start seeing the NFL turn around a little offensively. Let's see a little less sloppy play. Hopefully by week
would be nice.
We resolve some of that. But in the meantime, that's another episode of The Sportsman. Joey D, Mikey V. I'm the Big Ticket, Neil Arnett, and we will see everybody next week.